right, so thanks everybody for being here today. We're just going to go through a couple of quick things about Chrome River and hopefully be able to answer a couple of questions for everybody and kind of get everybody situated on things. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So this is kind of a good starting point for us. This is the Dow Online Help Center. Basically, you can get to it from here. You've got human resources, faculty advisors, we have Ramin, and you come over here to financial services, and we have a lot of information here about Chrome River, pending expenses, expense types, etc. Probably the best one to get started with, of course, right here, is going to be getting started in Chrome River, how to launch and log into the system. And I'll go through that more here in a moment. A couple other things on it. There's the Snap app for your phone, which can help you upload receipts and everything. And then, of course, some pointers on things you should do as soon as you first log into your account. So going from there, basically how do you get to Chrome River? You log into My Dow. You'll scroll down to Services and Resources, and then you'll come here and you'll click on Travel and Expenses Chrome River, and then it will open up the page with your account. And there we go. So it should load automatically. There is a note here on the getting started pages that you only need your net ID and your net ID password. You don't need to put anything for your company ID. Sometimes if you have an issue logging in, it's maybe a situation with HR where you're not current in their system. So you may need to contact them to get your profile updated with them, and then you should be able to log in to the system after that. So we'll start real quick with starting a travel claim. So of course, I'm in my account here. I've gone through my drafts folder where you would start most claims from. I've gone ahead and populated one here. So I'm just going to open it. Oh, okay, try that again. Highlight it, open it. And so I've gone ahead and put some things in here. So basically, this is just your header page. You're putting information as far as a report name, your payment amount. Most of us are going to be paying in Canadian dollars. The start and end dates of our trip, say we're going to be doing a travel claim on this. There's also the option to do a non-travel claim, which is our general reimbursements, any sort of office supplies, etc. If you're doing travel advance request, you can do that as well. And then if you have any sort of PDA claims to do, you can do that from here as well. So start and end dates for a travel claim or for a non-travel claim. Business purpose, since it's a travel claim, we'll ask you the destination, international, domestic, or USA. Then you'll put your affiliation, faculty, staff, student, or external. If it's relevant to research or not, and then how you wish to be paid. All right, so we'll save that. Now, one thing about this, if you need to make any changes on here, there can't be any expenses on this side. So just to kind of keep that in mind, if you have to change anything over here, there can be nothing over here. So we'll just go in and we'll add an expense. Let's just say, for instance, we're going to do air travel, airfare. Let's see, actually, let me look back at that. Let's see. All right. So I'm going to start and end dates, the 20th to the 23rd of this month. So I'm going to go in, add some airfare, and I traveled on the 20th. Spent $500 on the airfare, purchased it in Nova Scotia. Purchase location is very important. A lot of accounts will have tax rebates, and they need to know what the appropriate tax rate was, what the GST was, what the QST was, and everything like that. So we already have a business purpose in there. You can also put a description if you need to be more descriptive. Our airline, Air Canada, Air Class, it's most likely going to be economy. Our allocation, let's see, 887274, nursing. And if you need to say add an allocation or split it between another allocation, let's see, what was that one? 621. 7, just for the sake of that. You can split them here. You can actually change the dollar amount if you want to allocate more than 50% to a particular allocation or fund org. So we're just going to put all 100% of that, and then we are going to come in here and I think I've got, yep, there's one. So I will select that and attach that to the claim. So now I have my receipt and all the information for the airfare, and I'll hit save, and this will add it to my claim. Now you'll notice it'll bring up this little red triangle here, and it means that, okay, well, it needs additional information. So the destination, we were going to go to New Brunswick, Newfoundland, etc. All right, so we save that, and it saves it in there. And then if we need to add anything else, say lodging, meals per diem, anything like that. Let's see, what do those usually come under? Professional development. Say you have a conference that you're going to, would be the tile that you would use to include for paying for that conference. And any sort of miscellaneous things that may not fall under any of these, but usually we are pretty good about having a tile for just about everything. Meals by receipt, any sort of business meals with like an external person to the university. Let's see, would we like to see the meals per diem, or do we think we're pretty good on that? Okay, I think I'm going to take that as a no. Okay. All right. So basically we would have everything in here. We've got our receipts, everything checks out, and then we would just hit submit. Then it would go through our approval process. If you're our staff, it's going to go to, well, for all claims, it's going to go to a department reviewer that's going to be based off of this allocation here. So each department has somebody in crew member that's going to take a look at these claims first and say, okay, well, the amounts on the receipts are correct. There's a receipt associated with each expense. So that looks good. They're not going to do anything as far as like sign off on it as far as spending authority. They're just going to make sure that everything is in there and is complete. And so they'll approve it, and it usually will go, for most staff members, it will go to their supervisor. So the supervisor will take a look at it and say, okay, why is the supervisor, I know that they went on this conference, everything looks good to me, and then they'll approve it, and it'll go to the spending authority that's on this this allocation here, and then they will sign off on that. Now for students, it's routed a little differently. It'll still go to the department reviewer, but since students don't technically have a supervisor, it's going to go directly to that spending authority. So, and one way of checking to see once you've submitted it, if I can do that in here, there will be actually, let me pull that up in here. Show you the exact page where we talk about it. There we go. Track or recalling an expense report. So sometimes if you've submitted it and something is incorrect, the approver may send it back to you, so that you will need to recall it and make the correction. Okay, there we go. So if you wanted to say you submitted it 2 weeks ago and you haven't heard anything, you haven't been paid from it, you can go into your account, you'll click on the claim, you'll click tracking, and it will actually show you, okay, well, right now, this is pending approval from, say, your supervisor. So you can reach out to the supervisor and say, okay, is there any issues with the claim? Do you need more information to get this thing moved on through the system? And of course, here's our little details of who signs off on items. And then, of course, down here at the bottom, if it's pending, it's still going through the approval process. If it's approved, that means that everybody's approved it. And then it's just waiting to be exported, as you see there, by the system. And then once it gets to exported out of Chrome River, it goes basically to financial services, and then we pay it out from there. And then you'll see it's been paid, and it'll give you a check number, etc. Any questions on any of that?
Yes, hi.
Yes.
I have a question. So with it's Julie. With students, does it go if they're claiming through a research account? does it go to the holder of the research account, or does it go to the supervisor? Because we've had issues with this.
Mm-hmm. So for a student, it's going to go to the department reviewer first.
Yeah.
And then usually it's going to go. Now, are they students that have like part-time positions at Dalhousie or
Yes.
not?
Yes,
Okay.
they would do, yeah.
So they would have a supervisor. So it would go to their supervisor after the department reviewer. And really, the thing is, when it goes to the supervisor, it's just basically we call it a one-up approval. We're just getting a senior member or somebody senior to the expense owner, the person who submitted the claim, just getting someone at that position to sign off on it. So they don't really sign off as a spending authority. Um, and then, of course, it gets routed to a spending authority on the account.
Because I've had students caught in this loop where they submit for a research account held by another professor. Their supervisor gets the claim, thinks that they're approving it, says this has got nothing to do with me, I don't know anything about it, and then they send it back. And so it just keeps going around.
Right. So when it gets sent to the supervisor, we're only asking for a approval by a senior to the claimant. It's approval, basically. We're not expecting the supervisor to sign off the spending authority because it will be routed to a spending authority after they approve it.
I'm just not sure they're aware of it, and they kind of take ownership of it and say, well, I don't know anything about this, and they think they're approving it, and then and it keeps going sent back. So.
Right. And we try to outline that on our documentation here on the Help Center. Let's see, I'm trying to remember where exactly we had that. Okay, so it's gonna be let's see. So right. So let's see. So this is how basically how if you do get those questions, you can send them to this. We have a frequently asked questions on the Dow Online Help Center. Specifically, number 27 is going to outline kind of who gets to approve things, why they're sent to them, and it's basically kind of giving a description that this is only the spending authority is signing off on the spending on that particular account.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure.
And the other thing is, could you go through at some point how you delegate spending authority on this? So if a researcher wants to delegate their approval.
And now, is that reassigning spending authority on the particular account, or is that actually setting up as a delegate? Or okay.
It's somebody who has already been delegated signing authority on the account, but delegating authority on Chrome River.
Oh, sure. Okay, so we'll go back out, and then when you come into your account, you'll come down here to account settings, and then you'll come over here to delegate settings, and then say, so delegate basically is somebody who is going to be able to access your account. They'll be able to complete claims on your account. And your course will, so you assign the delegate on your account. They put in a claim for you and they go to submit it. You will receive the first approval for that claim. So you'll get an email and say, okay, well, your delegate has submitted a claim on your behalf. Can you review it to make sure that everything is correct? And that'll be that first approval before it gets basically entered into the rest of the approval process.
Okay.
All right. And so let's see. So basically we'd come in here to delegate settings and say I wanted to delegate Charlene as my delegate. That's all you got to do.
Okay.
Just go in there, delegate settings, type in their name. And
so
just
then this is somebody who can submit on your behalf.
Right. So they can, yes.
So then you can do, I see below, you can do my approval delegate.
Right. That's going to be, that's kind of a more different situation. They're still a delegate, but they don't have access to your account. That's basically if, say, you go on vacation and you need somebody to sign off on your, say you're the spending authority on a particular account,
Right.
and you're going on vacation, and so you would assign this approval delegate to someone else that's on your account that also has spending authority.
Yes.
And
so
so
is that
that's
quite straight? Is that quite straightforward? Is it the same thing? You just add them?
it's same thing.
Okay.
So you would search them, you search for the name, and then you would do the start and end dates of, say, your vacation. And so that entire time, they would receive any of your claims
Yeah.
to approve.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah, it's handy.
All right,
Thank
sure.
you.
Okay, all right. Any other questions at the moment? Okay, let's see. So that's our frequently asked questions. Of course, we have lots of guidelines on here, like meals and entertainment. Kind of breaks down what all those are involved. Business meal, external attendees. Let's see. You need to make sure that if you have alcohol included, it's either taken off of the receipt. And if it is included, you need to mark it. Guest picker is basically any sort of those internal or externals that you would have at the meal. And let's see some other high points on here. Let's see. Does your department or group, are they going to do a lot of claims for external claimants, a lot of visiting lecturers or anything like that?
I think it varies, but if you could run through how that works, that would be great.
Okay. All right. So basically what you would do is say you have somebody coming to speak with your group and they're, say, flying from Ottawa or something like that, and they're not set up in Chrome River, but they're going to have expenses that they're going to need to claim later on. So basically, what you would do, say, Julie, you would set them up as an external claimant in your account, and you actually would fill out this form here. So, you'd have your name here, department, your email, and contact information. If you're going to be entering the claim into your account, you would put that here, or if you have somebody else that's going to do it, you would put their name here. If this person has been paid or set up in Chrome River previously, or if they're already in Banner and you know what their brew number is, you would just put it here. Basically what they're coming to Dalhousie for, when it's going to be, and then you would send this along to the external claimant, and they would actually fill out, their information, the mailing address, their email, and then their banking information down here.
Right.
And then they would send this completed thing to FinPay, and then we would put them in as an external claimant into Chrome River. And I can show you how to do that right quick. This is, of course, their information, the direct deposit information, and then some more information here, and then the approved currencies that Dalhousie is able to pay people in. So it kind of runs the same way. So you would create an expense claim, just like you would before, but under affiliation, instead of doing, say, staff or faculty, you would come here to external, and then you would have this option here for vendor, and then say, we've got one right there, Youssef, say, would be an external claimant, or we can even, let's see. Yeah, so we could even just start typing their name, and then they would end up coming up. And so this would be basically you're submitting on their behalf, but since they're the external vendor, they would be set up to where they would get paid for that claim.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Can you pay honoraria through this?
No, you can't.
No. So that's still the tech requisition.
Right. You still have to do that the whole way. We are putting in a new program or procurement to pay program that we're still working on over in here in financial services. We're hoping to be able to do that do honorariums through that in the future, but for the time being, honorariums have to come through manually.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Oh, we did this. Okay. Any other questions, concerns, or anything? Has anybody logged in and used that Chrome River before to submit a claim? Had any issues when you submitted? No? Okay, that's good to hear. Let's see. And then, of course, if you're an approver, if your supervisor or spending authority, there's information here on how to review and approve, returning, reassigning. Here's more information on the delegate process, how to find a delegate, how to work as another delegate, as another person's delegate. Basically, you come up to your name here, and you'll see their name below yours, and then you can basically select their account and submit on their behalf. So it's kind of confusing that if you're a delegate for somebody, that their name would show up here, but if you're basically submitting on behalf of an external claimant, it's going to be down here. So that seems to be kind of confusing sometimes.
Can you just run
Sure.
through? So so I have approval. So if someone puts claims through and you approve the claim, but you don't want them to put it through that particular account number, how do you have to send it back and get them to change, or can I change the account number?
Let's see. So there should be I have the list somewhere here. There's certain things the approver can and cannot do when they're reviewing a claim. Okay, here we go. So when you basically receive this as an approver, you have the option to adjust an expense report, and these are the items that you can change. So allocation is one of the things.
Okay.
The amount, you can change the business purpose. You can also change the category, which is get this to open this category here, and it kind of outlines that further down.
Yeah.
And then you can add a comment as well. So you can adjust everything up here. So you just click the adjust button. You'd make a notation. Okay, well, this is why I'm adjusting this because the receipt total was different. And then here it says if you wanted to change the category, you would just click that tile and you can change it over to like say somebody had miscellaneous for a conference fee and you're like, okay, well, there is a tile for conference fee, so I'm going to go ahead and switch it over to the correct tile of conference fee.
No, that makes sense. And how, so where would you change the account number if you wanted to do that?
That
Is that
is
the
going
allocation?
to be, so that's the allocation, correct. So you would say if you're, you would have adjust up here, so you go to adjust and then you can actually come down here.
Right.
And say it's 11,275. It's the correct one it's supposed to be.
Right.
And then you would save it, and then you would have to say, okay, we'll change the allocation because it's the incorrect one. And then it will the expense owner, the claimant, will get an email, and they'll take a look at it and say, okay, well that's the correct allocation to use. So.
Oh, so it goes back to the claimant and they have to like resubmit or approve the change?
When you adjust it, it doesn't technically, it technically goes back to them, but it stays at the same point in the approval process. So
Right.
it still stays with you. But then they just basically, they get an email and says, okay, well, an approver has made this change. Is this change correct? And they'll say yes. And then since you've already approved everything else in the claim, it goes forward.
But if they don't press yes, it doesn't move forward. Does it just stay?
Correct.
Right.
Correct. So they have to basically sign off on your change.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. Whereas if you return the claim for them to change it themselves, then their process starts all over again. So it goes back to them, they make the change, and then you get it a second time. And you're like, okay, well, all right, I've already approved all these except for this one thing. And so it's better just for the approver to adjust it correctly, because the expense owner, the claimant, will get to see, okay, well, this is what was incorrect, and that's how it was supposed to be changed.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Right. Okay, so that page basically tells, what everything an approver can do. So luckily, it's a good amount of things. Let's see, what else do we have? And then anything, as far as the external claimants, this is a good page to come back to make sure that if you do have a visiting a lecturer or external claimant, basically, that when you do go to get them paid, that these would be the currencies that are allowed that Dalhousie can pay. And that would be, let's see, that would be in your expense, your pay me in here, basically. So when you have an external claimant and they're going to be paid in, say, US dollars, you have to, as part of submitting that form to FinPay, you also need to let them know, okay, well, I don't have US dollars set up on my pay me in on my account. So they would actually have to set that up in the background so that when you went to submit the claim, you would have the option to select those US dollars or what have you. And then, of course, when you do that, you want to make sure, I can actually show you something real quick too. So you noticed how I couldn't change anything that's grayed out. I can't change because there's an expense over here. So what I'll do, I will delete this expense and come back to my header page. And now I can change everything over here. So the pay me in, if I needed to change it to something else, I would do that there. But of course, when you change the pay me in, you want to make sure that the disbursement method is also changed. So say we're paying in US dollars, we want to pay them in a US check, which is our preferred way of paying US dollars to external claimants residing in the US. If they're getting paid in US dollars, non-domestically or overseas, you would have to choose the other bank wire transfer / drafts. And of course, that's all outlined here. Okay. So let's see. So that's that one. Travel advances are usually pretty straightforward. It's usually for airfare. It would so very similar to submitting a regular travel claim. You would just put a start and end date that are in the future, basically, and then you would have to okay, close that out and make sure that your dates are correct and the expense date is correct and all that, and you'll get basically reimbursed in advance for it, and then you'd have to go in to your system, and usually you would have a e-wallet that has cash advance that you would select, and you clear it out that way. So a lot of the same process as the manual claims, just kind of a little more streamlined.
Sorry, can you go back and show me how you get onto that SharePoint, the one that you're flicking through, the Dow Online,
Sure.
that one? How do you get there?
The Dow Online Help Center, it's going to start right up here. So that's basically off of your SharePoint once you've logged into my Dow.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, I can
Sure.
cut and paste it into the chat so people can go back and find that if you want.
Okay,
Oh,
sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's usually one of those things like you find it once and you like bookmark it.
Yes.
And that's like the only way you know how to get to it.
Yeah, I've never seen it before, and it looks super handy. So yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be off the SharePoint site, and this is going to be like how it looks at first, and then you come to the faculty and staff, like that. Financial services, and then this is going to be all the financial services help stuff, Chrome River, and then everything else, financial self-serve and all that.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's very handy. Thank you.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Sure. Any other questions, concerns, any problems anybody's come across? No? Good. Okay. All right. Well, that's good to hear. Anyone that's used Chrome River, do you like using it? Better, worse than the manual way?
Oh, way better. Than,
Oh, good.
Signatures on pages and photocopying and sending up. Yeah, no.
Right. And it's a lot quicker. You get reimbursed a lot quicker.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. Good.
I do find it more streamlined also, but I have made some mistakes, but I think it's a little bit of trial and error. So that's why I'm here today, just to find out what am I missing.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. And this help center is a really good thing, and of course, you can always email Chrome River at dal.ca. If you have any questions for us, we're pretty good about getting back to you. Well, yeah, getting back to you the same day.
I think that the issue I have is when you get something rejected, you have to weed through all the details to find out the actual reason that it's getting sent back. Like it's not.
Now, is that the system sending it back, or is that an approver sending it back?
Both. It's the approver, but it comes back with, you have to weed through all the comments that like financial services have made or the department have made and try and figure out piecemeal the conversation. That's what I find the hardest, to figure out what we need to do differently.
Right. That's really going to be on the approvers to kind of be clearer on that. I've noticed that, as we've come through the system, that when the approver will send it back, they will just say one or two things like not my account or this or that and like have no explanation. So we would advise, if you're serving as an approver, to kind of be thorough, tell people exactly what needs to be changed.
Yeah, that is exactly it. It's like simple rejection, and then you have to figure out what they're doing wrong. There was another question, I think, in the chat. So
let's see.
Oh no, it was Tanya with the link.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you. But
and as far as if the system let's see, if the system kind of there's a couple of things in the frequently asked questions about if the system kicks it back to you. Let's see. So sometimes I know that one that we see a lot is that if it's like at the end of the month, like I guess in this case it'd be on the 30th. If you submit it on the 30th, the system's going to kick it back to you and say it's not an open accounting period. Just submit it again.
Yeah.
It's Chrome River kind of like thinks a day ahead. So anything that Banner's going to do tomorrow, Chrome River will do the day before. So it kind of thinks ahead as far as the accounting period. It's like, okay, the accounting period is going to end tomorrow, but they're going to refuse these claims the day before.
Yes.
So basically, if you get that alert, just resubmit it.
Right. Yes, we've had a few faculty where there's been big mystery, like what did I do wrong and why is it not accepting it? And yeah.
Let's see. So I've got so here's one about allocations. Sometimes an allocation won't show up. That's usually going to be a question for financial research, because in Banner they have to put like an end date on the research account, and so Chrome River will pick that up and say, okay, well, this account's not available because the end date was a couple days ago. Even though if you submitted it manually, it would go through because we're just looking at the account number and a couple other things. So if it's not in there, usually you can submit us, you can email us first and say, I can't find this allocation. Can you help me out and see what the issue is? But it's usually like that the account end date has come up and Chrome River has basically said, okay, well, this account's not active anymore. And so it's not going to let you access it.
So how do you do a workaround for that? What happens?
Usually you have to email us and ask us to take a look at it.
So what's the email address for
It's
that?
Chrome River, all one word at dow.ca.
And then do you do like an override or something so it can go through?
Right. We would end up reaching out to research, financial research, and saying, there's an end date of this account. It's already passed. Can you help? Can you extend it? Can you advise on that the person should use a different account? That kind of scenario. So
even if the travel was during the period where the account was open, the fact it's past the end date means Chrome River can't deal with that.
Correct.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's not ideal, but we can, there's the things we can do to get it put through the system.
Okay, great.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, and of course, right there, Chrome River, the Dow.ca. There's the financial research. If you have any questions for them, and of course, we have our own SharePoint site, an additional SharePoint site for financial services, Chrome River, and everything. They're kind of working to get everything moved over to this new site. And if you end up over here, it's also in the SharePoint. We are under payment of expenses, Chrome River, and then of course there's some, you can get to the, that's the same link that you find on my Dow, so you can get to it from here too. General information, and then of course it links you back out to the help center.
That's the first link I gave them, Jeffrey. Like
okay, sure.
In the chat, I put payment expenses, and then the Chrome River one's next, and then the Dow Online Help Center is the third one.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Brilliant.
So any of those links usually get you
kind
where
of
you
goes
need to
in
go.
order.
Yeah. So
when you're lost for everything else, the last one might help you.
Right.
Perfect.
Okay, so that's that. Any other questions? Anything we didn't cover that we might want to get covered?
Could you just go back to the per diems? You did offer that, and
Sure.
But just to see it.
Okay, sure. So I'm going to come back into my account, open this claim again, and there's a couple ways. So there's a couple ways you can actually add expense here. You can add an expense up here. You go over here to create new meals and entertainment. Of course, if you want to submit meals by receipt, you can do that as well. And then they have just a per diem wizard. Right. So basically, our start date on our claim was this. So we just put in a start and end date. So we're going to be claiming per diem for 4 days. Adds it up to, so let's see. So conference travel, the location. I think we went to
New Brunswick, Jeffrey, I think.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think I kind of yeah. Okay. So New Brunswick. There we are. So we put in where we travel to, and if we are traveling internationally, there's also the option to do the National Joint Council rate, which is kind of an accelerated rate that the federal government kind of approves for people to use for an increased per diem. But usually if you're in Canada and you're traveling in Canada, you're going to use the Dalhousie rate. All right, so okay, so we've chosen the Dalhousie rate. We're going to New Brunswick. We're spending 4 days there for conference travel. And so we add our entries, and then it'll actually give us every single day. And then we can actually go in and say, all right, so basically all these, okay, so at this point, I'm taking all of the possible meals. But say the conference provided dinner. So it's kind of counterintuitive, but the conference provided dinner, so I'm not taking the dinner per diem. So I'm going to actually check this one off. So I'm deducting it from my per diem. And so you see that it decreased on the per diem there, and then I can actually go into each day. So the hotel I was staying at provided breakfast for these 2 mornings, so I can take that off. And then say I came back on the 23rd, so I'm not going to take dinner because my flight got back at noon, so I'm eligible to take breakfast and lunch. And so I've adjusted all these. I add to the report, and then close that out, and then it'll actually show each day. Okay, so I took the dinner deduction on that day. I took, took out breakfast on that day, took out breakfast on the next day, and it breaks it all down for the approver. Okay.
Right. So can the approver go in and override things? If someone just clicks like the 4 days, can you, as the approver, can you go in and change those?
As far as the per diems, you can't change what they've deducted, but what you can do, you can adjust the amount. Right. So basically, you would receive this and it would say, okay, well, you spent $28 for breakfast and lunch. And they're like, well, you left a little later, so you weren't entitled to breakfast. So the approver would actually go in and they would do the adjust again. Right. It would be up here and actually deduct the breakfast amount. Okay. So they would say spent, and then approved below that would say approved for $12, which is $16, which would just be the lunch per diem. Okay. So that's the only way you can really adjust a per diem.
Right. Mm-hmm. And can you do a combination of per diem and receipts?
Yes.
For different days?
Yes, you can. Now it's on, let's see. So this is one thing that approvers really need to pay attention to, that say, because the system is not going to pick this up necessarily. All right. So Brunswick. Let's see if this is gonna. Okay, no guest. All right. I'm gonna add a receipt again. This one again. Attach. And then, yeah. So I've got a meals rub receipt. It was for dinner. Well, it was actually for lunch, and I've already got lunch here. So right. It's the system's not going to pick up that someone is, asking for a lunch per diem here on the same day as they are getting a meal by receipt for lunch here. Yeah. So that's something that you really need to look out for as an approver, that if they're taking meal by receipt, that they haven't already taken the per diem for the same meal, basically.
Yes. And so, before in the old system, if you took out a group of people for work, you had to fill in like a meeting request form, with who was present. Do you have to upload that to Chrome River when you do something else?
So, ideally, if there's somebody external to the university that you're entertaining in a meal, let's say, okay. So it was a dinner, and let's see if it's gonna give me this error. So I go to save it, description, alumni meal. It's going to give me a warning because this is a business meal. Of course, it says, there's no receipt attached, so I need to attach a receipt. And then since it's a business meal where an external guest would be entertained, basically, or be an attendee, it's going to say, okay, well, you haven't listed an external guest. So you'd have to go in and actually add an external person here.
Right.
So it's not gonna auto populate any kind of names for an external. So you're gonna have to add an external person, first name, last name, title, what company they work for, and you actually will add them. Let's see, just kind of, okay. And there we go. So that's the external person. who basically shared in the meal.
Great.
Okay. And Julie, so that replaces the meeting request form.
Right.
Right.
And
all the same information.
Does it have to be an external? So if someone's taking their team out as a research, you know what I mean? Like their research team, can they still go out for a business meal? Do you have to have an external person present?
That would be categorized as a meal by receipt. So, yeah, so this is meal by receipt used for individual purchases, food, for faculty, staff, or students, like for coach, for athletes, etc. And so that meal by receipt is not going to ask you for an internal person. So what you would have to do is list the additional internal attendees under here.
Yeah.
Now, there's not really, if it's like for a large, say you've got 30 people, you can usually, what the best practice is to list maybe like if it's an event for 30 people for your department, perhaps list like the first 6 or 8 like senior Dalhousie members as the internals. And then up in the information here, say, okay, it was a nursing department get together for training or what have you.
Right.
And so you're saying, okay, what's going to be people in the nursing department, and usually what we'll have you do, you'll list the like the internal senior members here, and then down here in your receipt, actually attach all the attendees that were there, the additional 25, 30 some odd people. So you're not having to input.
You type it up and scan it. Okay.
Right. Yes. So you can put it down here as like a PDF. There is a way, and we haven't had much luck with this. You can upload it as a CSV file, which will actually populate all the names from the file.
Wow.
But it's really tricky, and we don't really recommend it.
No, PDF sounds just fine.
Right. So just as long as we have some sort of record of who the attendees were, what it was for, how much was spent, so that we can kind of compare that to those receipts.
And do you need the purpose, or does it just for it?
Usually if it's for like a larger meal like that, you want to be as descriptive as possible.
Okay. Great.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or anything?
I'm good. I have no further questions.
Good. Okay.
Anybody else?
No? Okay. All right. Well, that's good. That's good. And then always, you can find our contact information on the Help Center here. You know, any kind of questions you have, any issues you're having with it, just send us an email. Yeah. So, you know, hopefully it works good for everybody.
Great. Thank you so much.
Oh, sure. No problem. Yeah. And so I'll probably send off some a couple other information for you after the meeting, any sort of things that we think of after the fact, just some additional websites or other links that you might find helpful. Okay.
That'd be great if you could put it in the chat, then everyone will get it.
Oh, sure. We can do that. Yep.
Lovely.
And thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Hope everybody has a good evening.
And you. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye.